Hello and welcome for another Meter Technology Works tutorial. This time it's going to be on the Elster AMCO T210 remote counter using the Elster programmer. It's a very expensive device. It's about $2,500. So most people don't own one, but we can use it and program at the factory. Show you how to go through it anyway. And we're going to be programming the counter to work with the Meter Technology Works MJ20 1 pulse per 10 gallon cold water meter. Start by opening our counter, moving the instructions, which we'll throw away because if you read them, you're probably not watching a video. And this programmer is programmed for gallons with a reading of 70. Typically it comes from the factory in cubic meters, but in any case we're going to reprogram it. And what we're going to do is use our programmer. That's how it starts out. Gives us a serial number we can select. We're just going to use the default. Hit program next. Set features. We're going to skip it. Next. US gallons is checked. That's correct. Hit next. Pulse value 1. That is not what we're going to use. We are going to use 10. So I will have to select the 10. Next. Enter reading. All right, well, our reading is 0, 0, 0, 0, 1, 3. I put 130. It says 131. We can't count ones. It's 131.8, but we are only counting in tens, so we're going to round off to the nearest tens, which is 130. Hit program next, knowing that it's going to want us to touch the programmer to the counter, which we've done. All right, and now we have what we wanted, which is gallons and our reading of 000130, which matches. So all we would typically have to do now is remove the bottom cover, exposing the 4 terminals, and for any passive pulse, which is going to be any reed switch pulser that it just opens and closes like a switch, like our MJ420 or MJ20, we're only going to use 2 wires because that's all this comes on a typical reed switch, and we're going to wire those to the 2 outermost terminals. That's these 2 out here. And normally that would be the end of it. But let's assume for a minute that we want to make sure everything's working. The only way to do that on a 1 per 10 meter is to run 10 gallons of water through it. That's not too bad, but sometimes you'll get a 1 per 100 or a 1 per 1,000 gallon pulse meter, and that's just not practical. So what you can do, just to check, and even if you've received this that's been programmed from the factory or programmed from a third party or whoever it's been programmed by, what we can do is short these 2 terminals, these 2 outermost terminals. When it's not connected to any wire, these are open and we want to make them closed. So we would use a jumper wire, which we don't have and people don't usually have, or a paper clip, or the old tried and true 2 screwdrivers crossing each other, and boom. We shorted the 2 terminals, initiating a pulse, and it counted up by 10 gallons, which is just like it's supposed to do. All right, well, that's ideal. Everything's everything, but how often does that happen? Never. So let's go back and we're going to reprogram this counter as a 1 per 1. So I'm just going to burn through this again, program next, skip that. Yes, gallons, pulse value, scroll up, select 1, program next, enter reading, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 3, 0. And I'm going to hit program next. Not much to see here, it's just transmitting data. So, how do we confirm that it's 1 per 1? Same thing. Let's short it out. And it counts up like so. So that's 1 pulse every 1 gallon. But our meter is pulsing 1 pulse every 10 gallons. Well, how would we rectify that? For example, I'm going to program this to 0 now. And this is where it'll get a little convoluted, but it's really not bad. So I will short my outside terminals, and every time I short it, it counts up. And I've counted too many. I should have counted 13. But I could count up by 13, which is really 130. How do I remedy that? With a Sharpie. Times 10. Same thing if it was a 1 per 100 meter hooked up to a 1 per 1 counter. You know this is always going to count up by 1, but you know that's going to correspond to 100 gallons. So times 100. Not very fancy, certainly not sexy, but it gets the job done in the field and saves you $2,500 for a programmer. That's it. Thank you and have a good day.